The really funny part about that is I'm probably going to hear those in like a couple days for real. with the actual storm, but we will talk about that later. So welcome to Stormwatch. I was actually thinking, folks, that we might want, if we could do like Star Wars intro music, we could call ourselves Stormtroopers, and that'd be kind of weird.
But I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't. Well, I mean, they got the Bad Batch and stuff like there are some good Stormtroopers. Glenn's a little short. I mean, I think
George
Glenn's a little.
Lucas show up with a
yes. I did. Say so.
Love
wow. They actually got better. All right, so let's get into this. So welcome to Stormwatch. Welcome back to Stormwatch. It is a weekly thing where we get together, and I'll point out who we are in a second, to talk about what we've seen in Gray Noise, what's been happening out there in Cyberland, and cover all things related to cyber and maybe outside of cyber. With me, as usual, is Kimber. Kimber, how's it going?
It's going all right. Hanging out in Nashville this week.
Nashville. Are you into any of the Nashville country music scene?
Oh my God. Honestly, yes. Yeah.
Cool.
I'm not ashamed.
I no judge. It's cool.
When in Rome, right?
Exactly. You gotta lean in.
No, she's in Nashville, Glenn.
Nashville. My bad.
And you just got to hear Glenn. Glenn, how is it going? You are no longer melting, from what I understand.
I get a week off of melting. I think melting might come back next week, but the first signs of fall. It is rainy. It is 71. It is wonderful. I walked around the neighborhood for the first time in 4 months last night.
Wow.
For pleasure, because it's been so hot. So very happy right now. My air conditioner is even happier. So.
It's not. Is it actually running any? Like, did it get a rest? Like, is it actually not?
Yeah, it's off. I think it. Okay. Yeah,
cool.
It's napping.
I'm glad you survived summer.
Thank you.
I guess I'm glad you survived summer too. All right. I wanted to start today because, and we weren't originally going to do this, but because I am about to get hit with come on, there you go, with this bad thing with Lee.
Spaghetti? There's spaghetti.
There is spaghetti. So at the very least, Kimber and I amateur weather folk, and I actually do especially like hurricanes.
I'm offended, Bob.
Do you have a weather station?
Yeah. I have.
What weather? What do you have? What weather station do you have?
My yard.
What weather station do you have?
The single cone. What's it called? I'm panicking now. Like single cone weather.
Prove your meteorologist
It starts with T. Tempest or.
You have a tempest?
Yeah.
You have a tempest? You have a weather flow tempest.
Okay. All right. Let's move on.
No, seriously, that's awesome. Like, that's one of the best weather stations. We are not plugging weather flow right now. That is not what we're doing. So anyway, I want to bring this. We are off track. As much, please let Lee. Yes, that very rather different sort of flying spaghetti. I would take flying spaghetti monsters right now. So and I do like hurricanes, but we aren't here to talk about hurricanes specifically. All three of us, I will now include Glenn in the amateur weather person's club, and I'm going to grill him later to make sure he belongs in it. Want to be able to do more predicting and provide more stormy like views and like different visualizations and different ways of helping folks interpret what's going on with internet noise, because the noise isn't just noise. Like there's actually little mini storms happening across the internet at any given moment in time with these things. And what occurred to me right before we started is like this. Look at all those models. Like that is literally all of the models across all of the major agencies, global, like not just the US. And if they can't even tell me where like this massive thing is going to go because of all of the changing nature of the atmosphere and of the ocean and temperatures and currents and everything, I don't know, Kimber / Glenn, is it going to be a while before we get any kind of clarity around being able to do better predicting? Like, it's one thing to predict if an exploit's going to happen. There's like 4 different places trying to do that now. But like whether it be a thing or not, but like the activity on the internet, like predicting that, like seeing this, I'm a little more disillusioned than I was maybe earlier this year that we might be able to do this.
I think it's an extremely fitting metaphor, like not even a metaphor. Metaphor isn't the right word, but like a good comparison to the internet weather. Like the real weather and the internet weather both have very similar, very like a set of variables that affects all these different paths. And like you could make all the correlations, you could do all the machine learning, and you would kind of get an idea of what's going to happen. And
you might get this. Yeah, you might get this.
You're going to get the cone. Like, are you in the cone?
So maybe that's what we should start doing, Kimber. You and I should, like, the three. Okay, fine. The three of us. I'm sorry. I'm used. Glenn hasn't been here forever. Kimber has. So I'm used to nerding on weather with Kimber. I apologize, Glenn. We should maybe think about that cone thing and spaghetti model thing as maybe a way of doing the representation we've been trying to do for a while.
Yeah,
just want to throw that out
there. The internet space that's going to get hit.
Yeah.
The cone.
It's a super good example, right? Like, you know, the root of most of our work in this field is risk management, and so risk acceptance, and like the cones are good. Like, this is a good example of, like, you know, from the hurricane, like physically, like, what is your level of risk acceptance, and what are your defenses, and what are your vulnerabilities, and, you know, like Nantucket's like, yeah, we can wait a few days to maybe decide, but, you know, whatever. I don't know what's between Nantucket and Halifax. Is that you, Bob?
It's
might
Bob.
Where all
between, I don't know.
where everything converges, like right around here. If they actually, like, a lot of those lines go right through me.
Damn, so like way up there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We're forever and away. But the good news is, I think land's gonna be really cheap in Nova Scotia after this, because they're all gonna get wiped out, because they're gonna get the brunt of it. So, all right, fine, Dark. Anyway, for people, like, we are gonna get to cyber. For anyone that is in this path, keep a watch on it. Please treat it seriously. I know people every year do strange things. Most of the cyber folk that I know aren't silly folk. They actually are very conscious folk. They're the risk managers, like Glenn just talked about. And if you are in the path of this, please take care. And if you're around where I am in Maine, I'm in southern Maine, and you do need a place to go that's safer, we got plenty of room. So you can definitely hit me up on all the channels where I am. I'll be glad to help folks either weather it or get past it if you happen to have problems after it.
Yeah, definitely prepare for outages. Remember when Sandy hit, was it New York or Boston or both, whatever?
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah, terrible.
Because you're not in the direct cone, like, all those underground things get full of water, and electronics don't love water, and
we must love the weather, because there's like just as much weather data as there is internet data, if not more.
Yep.
Oh, there's definitely, there's more for sure. But there's hundreds of years of weather data.
Right.
So.
And there's hundreds of years of cyber. No, okay, anyway. So what we do cover news or breaking, or I guess I might call it broken news. And I'm actually going to let these folks wrap around this more than I am. I'm actually, since you now know if you haven't heard about the North Korea hacks, security researcher story, you have been under a rock, because it's been a thing. I'm going to bring it back to me just so I can see it, because I can't see them I can't see them as well if I don't do that. I will lament first and let you two riff on this, because you probably follow it more than I have. Yet again, I am not in the cool kids club. I was not attacked by North Korea. I was not on any list. No one told me I was there. I'm no longer special. I am old and used up.
I think that's the sentiment across every single threat intelligence chat group, hacker chat group. Like, everybody's just a little sad that they weren't included in the cool.
We didn't get the ticket to the ball. Like,
yeah,
that should be a DEF CON badge or something. Like, I was targeted by
North Korea.
I don't know.
And
so, go ahead, Kimber.
I'm very curious who was able to actually snag this tool that the supposed security researcher was peddling, and if anybody used it. Maybe just nuke your devices.
All of them.
Format everything. Yes.
Well, I know Google was reaching out. You know, they were like, if you interacted and got, they wanted to chat. Super cool on them to raise awareness to this. Obviously, it is I can't remember the date of the last time, but this is I guess officially a trend, and also not surprising to be for that nation state actors to be targeting security researchers. And I'd like to think that the researchers in the community know to be on the lookout, but a good kind reminder. that you're in the way, right?
Yeah.
Like, so sometimes they don't like that.
Well, and it's a good reminder to just like evaluate your threat vectors. Like some of us are sitting on some very interesting companies that we work for and information that we have, resources that we have, and the spice, like you might not think that you have spicy information or like work for a spicy company, but like you might, or you might know somebody who does. I'm sure all of our friends in the defense industry are like, yeah, you nerds, like take this a little bit seriously. But you know, it's just
the one thing I wanted to toss your way, since I think both of you are still on the silly site run by Mr. Musk.
Yeah.
Because we have empirical evidence, thanks to Scientia, that the Twitter, the security twits, like the InfoSec Twitter, is for all intents and purposes dead. Is his destroyed, because he kind of destroyed that. Like Musk really, all he's done pushed people away. And I know North Korea did go and they went beyond X to like mass, but it's hard. Like not everyone's on InfoSec.exchange. It is hard to figure out handles. It is hard to get figure out who's on the fragmented social media landscape right now. Is Elon's slow or fast erosion of Twitter and driving cyber folks from there, driving cyber folks away from there. But did that help reduce the impact of this campaign?
That's interesting thought.
No, I don't.
You don't think so?
No, because they were on Mastodon too.
You're right, they were, but like it's harder to find people there, even for a nation state.
Yeah.
I mean, it might. I guess my thought is, clearly I don't know. I don't think it helped. Like it would have been more successful if we were having this conversation 2 years ago with Twitter. But it probably slowed it down or was a little bit of an impediment. But like again, also not knowing if maybe they were going after one specific or two specific targets, and then then I guess success is in the eye of the beholder. But
yeah, I think what's interesting is like I'm finding a lot more value out of like the little private group chats. I want to bring IRC back.
It didn't really go anywhere.
Oh, I'm still on it all the time.
Yeah, exactly. It didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, so things like that.
Speaking of which, did you guys know we have a Discord?
We do.
We have a Discord.
A new Discord.
It is the coolest thing.
Dude, anybody wants to like get on it and I don't know, play Starfield?
Yeah, actually, I always because Ashley does not actually appear. She is just the ethereal voice of God for us, our Overwatch.
She's actually not real.
I actually, oh yeah, Ashley AI. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's the name of our AI.
We also have our amazing Overwatch Ashley on. And if you could drop a Discord link for folks, that would be great, because like that I prefer people going there than maybe giving Salesforce your like telemetry, because they own Slack and they're kind of evil. Anyway, I will get off the evil stuff, because
one day I want to see Bob's list of not evil companies.
What companies does Bob endorse?
Gray Noise.
His community garden.
Great Gray Noise. Maybe Gray Noise. Okay, so we are talking about the Apple. Everybody watching, listening, whatever now, reading an AI generated transcript knows about the Apple vulns from last week. If you don't, please keep a little bit more current. It doesn't matter whether you have Apple stuff or not. People do. We're talking about it both because patch everything. Please encourage your friends and fam to patch everything. But this is also like CISA. Like we're just gonna mention them later. I'm gonna dig them up here. I don't know. Like I thought we're supposed to know when exploits happen, like known exploited vulnerabilities. This was a known exploited vulnerability on Friday, because like every cyber media told me about this on Friday. And why didn't CISA tell me about this on Friday?
It's a great question.
Was Todd on vacation?
Yeah, I blame Todd.
Was Todd Beardsley on vacation, sleeping? It's his job. Decided,
he just took an extended Labor Day week.
Yeah, let people get pwned. Who cares, right?
Well, there probably wouldn't be enough reporting time on this, because how many giant organizations have enough monitoring on their Apple infrastructure to see exploitation attempts on this, right? Because CISA needs that verification, right? There's some good Apple like logging platforms out there, but I have not seen anybody have a very robust program.
Yeah, it's just I'm one reason why I'm giving them a hard time, not specifically Todd, but a lot of for better for worse. And if you're an org that does this, I'm not going to judge you for it, because you probably have very scant resources. But a lot of folks are taking Kev as this is what we're doing and this is how I get things done. And if it's not here, I can't get any traction in my org. And I get that. I've been in your seat before, so I understand that. If CISA doesn't say something when this comes out, and the entire world is saying deal with this patch, because everyone did that patch now thing last week. I think I think Glenn and I both did that internally also, and like I feel kind of bad about that now, just a little, but like I feel bad. If they don't tell people this is important, and that's the mode people are in now after relying on them for almost 2 years. What happens when they don't do it when it's a thing and they wait 3 days, and now there's been 4 days of, but now granted, these were very targeted attacks. Yeah. Not every individual is going to be hit this way, but it just seems like they might need to take it a tad bit more seriously than they are right now.
Well, and I think they need to reevaluate what they're doing for Apple-based things.
Right.
Yeah, I wonder, because part of my thought was also around like how many what percentage of orgs are actually doing mobile management, MDM? Like,
not a lot, right?
Like how many orgs have the ability to enforce, like while highly important, especially this one, it was a zero interaction vuln, and like it's wild, right? And what it was used for was like it's a whole story, but also wondering like, do I agree, Bob, that like, yeah, like I would have liked to see that in Kev on Friday? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think it would have changed anything? Probably not, just because of, I don't know how many orgs are actually pushing out, MDM patch, whatever. So, based on prioritization, maybe that's the viewpoint. We always say we wish we could have more transparency and understanding into how they get from vuln to Kev. But this is kind of another example of that, I guess.
Especially because like Apple is considered more consumer like based, right? Like you get your kid an iPhone, or like I'm personally on the whole, like I have an iPad, I have an iPhone, I love Apple CarPlay, like it's my consumer like hardware type stuff. So I think that's an interesting aspect of it too, is CISA is not really addressing like that consumer level stuff as quickly as they are the enterprise level stuff. So that's a pretty clear distinction.
Which makes sense, right? Like their mission is not, that aligns with their mission.
Right. Yeah.
But that is an interesting point. We need consumer CISA. We need CISA.
Yeah. Oh no. One more agency to steal more tax money. Anyway,
another agency.
Yes. I want to encourage folks that are listening, or like live or not, and to hit on Slack or hit on Discord or like social, whatever you do. I'd be really curious, like, are you gating folks? Because we will do that at Growing Noise. Like if there is a really major bad thing that is more pervasive than something like this, we will gate folks. We will give them end days, and then we gate them, and you can't use that device to do Growing Noise things. It obviously doesn't happen that much, but we will do that. We're not locking down people's systems with like a full MDM thing, but I'm curious, how are you handling this? If you love this discussion, because I haven't had to do vulnerability management in an age, so it'd be cool to hear how folks are actually dealing. So I
would love, especially like to extend on that. Like if there's someone watching that has, a extensive mobile device management, like policy or strategy and technical controls, I'd love to hear more about that, because I don't think that we really talk about that very much. And like there's not like we did internal trainings and stuff at Grey Noise, and like one of the points I made was there's nothing more valuable than your phone because it's authenticated all the time to all of the things that anyone would ever need. So
yeah, so I apologize to LinkedIn engagers. You're not viewers, you're not the audience. You are engaging with us. You are part of this broadcast, and I apologize. LinkedIn just cannot get your user stuff to us. We can't see you. So, and don't worry about identifying yourself. I'm asking you to. This is a really good point. And like, should the CSRB be a part? Like, should we expect the consumer? What I forget what it stands for. I used to know. Covered brain. CSRB. Yeah. Like, should they do that? Like, should they be the ones that are letting us know these things? Should there be a broadcast mechanism there? That's a great idea. Yeah, you are brilliant.
Exactly I was thinking of.
I also love that this is like covering up Bob's face, but that's a different.
I'm fine. Hello. All right,
like Wilson over here. Yeah,
that's cool.
No, that's a great point, right? Like,
it is great.
It is great. To that point of reaching critical mass of protecting, consumers. I guess I was trying to think of a better word, but like the normies, the tech normies that are just very vital to the economy, to production, to everyone's quality of life, but they're just trying to like live and not like live and die based on bones that are coming out each day.
Well, and at least like this is a very advanced like APT sort of situation. Yeah. But then there's that whole life cycle where their stuff gets sold down the line and like it becomes script kiddie fodder, and it's like is
trickle down vulnerabilities? Is that what you're saying?
The trickle down effect? Like, will we see this trickle downing at all? I don't know. Probably that buffer overflow we may see.
Although sometimes I wish I had something like this in my pocket, like when someone needs help on their phone and I could just make it happen. But that's a different story.
All right, so Glenn wants to be in the vuln marketing business. All right, we're not doing that. I already informed my co-host that I am not going to say anything here because I don't really care what happens to casinos. So we want to talk about the MGM Resort hack. The only thing I would say is it just random that there was a bunch of hackers down there a couple weeks ago and now we got a ransomware thing? I don't know, but what do you guys got on this one?
I just the idea that casinos are losing like at least $1 million per hour, or I forget what the estimate I saw was.
Probably a minute. I don't even know.
Yeah, it's a lot. MGM's a big deal. Also a very interesting point on this. If you look at the list, obviously everything is in Vegas. The MGM Natty Harbor represent is on the list. I had a great time at that MGM the last 3 weeks when I was in DC. May their systems come back up robust. But I think also there was a Jersey one, and then the Macau property not affected, which is in China, right? So, or Asian countries. Affected by the Great Internet Firewall, perhaps. Either way, they were protected, or at least haven't reported any issues. I thought that was just a very interesting aspect of this whole thing.
The I will comment not negatively or positively about the casino thing, but their apps, the mobile apps, were all impacted too, which is what's causing, I think, a good chunk of the revenue loss at this point. So that's scary. And one reason why I picked casino.org's link versus any other possibly more legitimate outlets link is that they actually covered the whole. They focus solely on those casinos, so like they look at it from every aspect. And that whole like they must disclose the ransomware demand if it pays one. That was a really the article wasn't long, but it was a really interesting thing that this will be a case where if it actually is one and MGM does actually end up paying the ransom, unless they've got people paid off in places, and many places, we will actually know if they've done this or not. We don't get to know that a lot when big companies do that. So this could be an interesting situation if they can't recover on their own and they do actually have to pay ransom. So it'd be one thing to watch.
Well, they also have to disclose any information leakage. So all of us who have stayed at any of their properties, I love the Cosmo.
How do you... If you're a casino, how do you negotiate that? Because you can't say you don't have the money. I don't know know what you say. You don't really have a good starting point.
Dude, we're broke. Everybody won last night. We're all broke.
$1 trillion like ransom on this stuff.
I will say it is like, you know, we don't hear that much about things happening with casinos because obviously like they're so incentivized around money that they spend a lot and try really, really hard, more than most businesses, right, to protect their stuff. So it's interesting to see, you know, what is this, the second event of theirs, I think, but like I don't know. I think I always just find it surprising when you see something with a casino because like that's just like that's next level. It will be super interesting to find out what happened. You know, like casino or not, like, you know, I feel bad for the people that have to do the work, but
I can't wait for that report.
Yeah.
Yeah, this will be a good one. I mean, like just to know some more details, maybe than we would have learned from other types of incidents. That's one of the only positive outcomes.
If it's from like one of the recent like Barracuda or Move It bugs or something, like I don't know, man.
It
better be no.
Since I mean it's a casino, in the spirit of betting, I am going to bet on phishing as the initial vector.
Yeah, and 20-year-old Microsoft Word Office running.
Are you gonna not pay that bet too?
Oh, all right. We're moving on. I lumped these two together. There's no graphics because these are both key loss related. The one is about Microsoft. This is just, I mean,
this is a spy novel almost.
I'm trying to be nice. I was going to try to be nicer than I am, but like Microsoft did what every other giant organization does on their SOC 2. They checked all the boxes on SOC 2 and they said, oh, we're good. And then all the third party stuff, when they get the third party questions, they have like a ton of checklists and they said checklist, boom. And like all of them, they said, we don't do this. Like we don't leak stuff in backups. That they basically say that they checked all those boxes and there's a key in the backup. And like, so to me there's a broader topic that we're not covering today that we will cover on a future one, whereas like do the check boxes actually really stink and matter anymore? Because like they did, like, and everybody else does, and it's a thing, and that's what's happening on there. But at the same time, like that's a bad practice, and there's a lot of stuff going on there. And the one thing I will say is there's a bunch of really good like cyber reporters out there who I haven't really seen them put it into stories, but I have seen them make comments. And so there's also some talking heads. They're decent talking heads, but they don't do cyber reporting, who are also saying the same thing. Like Microsoft whitewashed this really well. They have not come clean. There's no details. It looks like there's details. There's a lot of words. Read all the words on all the sites and all the Microsoft sites for all the things. There's lots of words and no real details. Like they whitewashed this whole thing completely. So I guess for both of you, is like, what was your reaction when you saw this? And like, do you think Microsoft has done enough to make sure everyone knows what's going on and that they've assured folks that they've got us all under control?
I have deep brain thoughts about this. I think it's just a feeling of disappointment.
Not mad, I'm disappointed.
Yeah, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed.
My initial thought was actually like, and maybe I'm like not as disgruntled as Bob, but like my first thought was more around, yeah, it was probably true. Like it probably didn't have keys at one point, and then there was a really big problem and someone was troubleshooting it, and then they had to add it, and then it was just never removed. You know, like it was one of those things like everything else where like things get forgotten or not documented, and then suddenly it's back, you know?
Okay, so if I have the Bernie Sanders response and I'm outraged, and Kimber's got the Susan Collins response where she's disappointed, like, so what does that make you, Glenn?
I don't even want to know.
All right, that's cool. I don't know. I just, and like the other one was LastPass. So if everyone doesn't remember the LastPass saga, I'm not gonna bring out the text. So it's just that.
No. If you're not off the LastPass.
Yeah, you should be.
Well, twofold, off and changed what was in there, because that's the key.
And not use them on new accounts too, because that's what I think a lot of people probably did. And so for the TLDR in this one is like LastPass got hacked pretty badly. They handled the breach terribly. No one should use their software. I'm in the business of trying to get Gray Noise sued. This is great. And now it appears that the thing that could never happen happened, and the hackers broke the key. Like they broke into the databases. It was never going to happen. It was going to take decades, and it's actually happened. They still don't know how it happened. And
like the evidence is the
yeah.
correlation of that is highly like showing that kind of causation, right? Like there's I don't know that it's confirmed, but like what was it, 150 like people who had their crypto wallet stolen or something? Like
I mean, like $35 million stolen from crypto accounts. Yeah, it's crazy. It's just absolutely insane.
What, Kimber?
I just went, whew.
That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
You turned into an owl for a second.
Yeah. I'm gonna put Jim's thing up real quick because we don't have a link for it. It actually, if Jim, you don't work for us, Jim, you don't have to do this. I'm just asking if you could throw a link up for the packet butchers thing. I'll be glad to put the link up. Or
I did read that. Yeah, I don't know if it's a packet. I did read about like it was physically, if I recall right. So but that it was physically taken from the air gap network or the air gap network, however you want to say it, to the dev or troubleshooting network. So like it was physically carried over. But of course, if no one knew it was in that dump, then whatever. But yeah, it is. There's a lot of fails on that to make, a wild scenario come true, I guess.
So would key rotation have addressed that or no?
Seems like it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I remember that like I was just like, last pass fail, just throw it away. So I didn't care much after that. But I think there were some articles around that, and it was a great everybody listen to Kimber. That's like a general advice, but in this particular case, do listen to Kimber. Rotate your keys. Like you should do
rotate your keys.
Don't come in here with your best practices stuff.
Look, they're best for a reason.
I mean, there is a talk by a friend of mine, Josh Corman, where one of his key statements is best practices aren't in that really cool speaker way he says things, with a good pause and everything. But so sometimes they are just best practices, and people implement but do them badly. But in this case, it's probably a good idea. And if you wonder why we cover some of the news things like this when we're never going to see these attacks, we are getting to. I'm plugging new sensors, even though I didn't tell anybody I was going to plug. We do have new sensors. They go live today. Early access is gone. It's a really exciting day. I'm actually trying to contain myself. I didn't want to talk about them. I'm talking about them. Kimber's gonna hurt me. It's fine. And at some point, we're going to go beyond initial access as things that we can report on. And we that's why we care about these things. We keep studying these things. We all poke into these things. We're very curious people. And it's going to be neat one day when we can give you intel on what attackers are doing post initial access, because that's what's happening in a lot of these cases here. They get in and then they go do things. And one of the biggest things that I am really kind of upset at Microsoft about is like they haven't told us how long the linger time was, the dwell time was. They haven't told us the extent. And I understand the sensitivity of that information, but I think given that like everybody uses Microsoft stuff pretty much in some way, shape, or form, we all deserve to know in some way, shape, or form. So that's kind of where my ticked offness is coming at from a lot of those things. This is a quick mention. I am not going to dig into this because we are already 33 minutes in. And so we've talked about this before. Matt Lehman, awesome person on the Gray Noise Labs team, does a lot of things. I can't put a particular title on Matt because Matt does a whole bunch of stuff. Matt's been working on this Gray Noise Labs CLI, does a lot of things, and that link is to a blog post where Matt digs in and provides a lot of concrete examples. Please sign up. Please, if you're not already a Gray Noise user, please check this out. We have lots of data here. Tell us what works. Tell us what sucks. Tell us what more you want. That's what we're here for. We would love to provide more information, more data, more everything to you, so that you can help defend your orgs better and know what's happening on the internet better.
This stuff is so freaking cool.
It is. It is cool. And I think last week or 2 weeks ago, there was like someone had I think it was in our community Slack, but anyway, someone had an enhancement request that Matt added within 2 hours.
Yeah, it was great. It was cool. Yeah, we are very responsive to requests, and I actually used the Knox endpoint to dig into one IP today that we're going to talk about in a little bit. So let's get into that as quickly as we can. Oh, and as our Overwatch asked me to do, we will do. So I think it's 1 p.m. 1300 Eastern time. There's a cool webinar. If you want to know more about how what we do, even if you're not an MSSP. This would be a cool thing to plug into if you're still unaware of all the cool things we can do. But especially if you're working at an MSP or you use an MSP, you should tell them Poke this is free. They can learn more about what we do. And if they're not using us, they probably should, because they'll save a lot of time and effort and hopefully money, because like they can do things faster when they get to that stuff. It's pretty cool. So we're going to talk about some of the things we saw like over the course of the past week, and this all comes from our trends page. So if you go to Gray Noise, there's a cool little, I don't know what to call them because they don't look like tabs, but I think in like UX nomenclature, it's a tab. So you go to the trends up there. These are pulled from there. I'm trying out new ways to show graphics to everyone and also internally. So you've got like an old school terminal interface going on here. I wanted to cover some of the highlights on those, and I wanted to do talk about these because I have been the person since the beginning of Stormwatch had being a thing. Whereas like I've been digging on the fact that like nobody does inventory scans anymore, and like it's a little like untrue. Like it's quite obvious from just these two alone that we do see regularly for certain types of things inventory scans, just because people need to keep their inventory fresh for all the things that are out there. IP addresses change, ISPs get bought and sold, IP address space gets bought and sold. They need to keep a refresh of those things. So the inventory scans do happen. One reason why you should use us, I'm not just plugging it, is like what we get to throw this noise away for you. Like you don't need to care about this happening, because odds are you don't have UPnP leaving your organization, and also you probably aren't running like a Huawei thing anymore, especially in the US, because I think everyone's been told to throw those out. So inventory scans do happen, and Kimber, like one thing I was thinking with the spaghetti model thing is like, maybe like we basically come up with some way of showing pressure systems associated with, or the lines with associated inventory scans, like show people I don't know. This is one of like the spaghetti model has had me thinking of how do we show the waves of something like that. And so whenever you get ideas, I'd love to hear ideas on this one too.
Oh, I think so much, because inventory scans happen at a frequency, right?
Like obviously, this is great. Yeah, this is great on here. Yeah.
And I just think that that's so funny, like that it all goes back to the noise metaphor of like inventory scans happen on frequency, like noise is made of frequencies. Like we can pull out all of the frequencies for you and you can just ignore them, because who has a Belkin Wemo like on their corporate network?
I hope that.
Probably somebody out there. Yeah. But like,
why is UPnP still a thing? Like,
because people need convenience. Because people need convenience, and people do want to be able to poke things through their router, whether they want to or the manufacturer does. So it needs to be easy. Convenience trumps everything else, because it does.
So bad though.
Even for me, convenience trumps some things. I'm not going to say I'm above the fray for that thing. We all want to do things and do them quickly. So
easy button.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like seeing inventory scans. I think they're very interesting, especially like just the frequency nature of them, and especially like the IPs that make up those scans. They're definitely not benign actors. Like they're unidentifiable, big sets.
Yeah, they're usually not doing one thing.
Right.
This is very true. Actually, we will see that with one of them coming up. The next grouping are relatively new ones that have come up. There's not a ton of IP addresses for all of these. TP-Link, I mean, like we're gonna see that, like they're gonna go after them. They're just trying to refresh bot inventories. Generic UDP technology, IP camera attempt. There's a bunch of white box stuff out there for IP cameras. This is just, again, refresh. This is the beginning of a refresh, or someone is deliberately trying to do a refresh to get a bunch of things. But Yealink was like, what is that? And there's not even a CV associated with it, which is interesting and cool, and maybe shows like how maybe CV is gonna die at some point. But I got like, what is this Yealink thing? And so I poked at it a little bit, and this has been the year of device management platform Hades when it comes to attackers going after things. For anyone that's in this space, or if you have operations team members that have to do this for a living, or you manage it for a broad fleet, like for a bunch of places out there, this has been a bad year, and it probably is going to continue to be a bad year. And I don't know how popular this is. I didn't actually go into market research, but this is very similar to like the Cisco telepresence stuff that they have. So this is a management thing, and the three of us have been bantering a lot in Slack over the past month-ish or so about, like we did, this was in the news, and then this happened. And so like Yealink has been in the news a lot, and I don't care about the partnerships with Starin, whatever that is, and I don't care about FutureCom 23, but the Yealink just completed not too long ago a pen test, and I gotta wonder, like, is this, again, this is correlation. There is no causation being asserted here. Kimber and Glenn, like, news equals scans / exploits. Like, we should probably be dedicating a little bit more time to this one, I think. Like, not just this one, but like this concept in general.
Yes, this is a thing. This is a confirmed thing. We have confirmed it to ourselves over and over again that news equals more scans. This is such a funny one. Like,
I mean, everyone has to learn about something for the first time at some point, which is quite the philosophical statement, I realize, as I say it out loud. But like,
deep.
But like with Move It, like I didn't know about Move It until that happened.
I didn't know about this thing until like
I didn't know about this thing until we're sifting through data and start seeing things, and it's a backwards breadcrumb trail to find Yay link. Like, there's so many companies that or tech vendors that no one knows about until they get some traction in some way, and just the same as anyone else that's looking for opportunities, like nothing, assume that a new org or new vendor has less security. So like if they're on the edge, they're going to be less mature. So get on it quick before someone else does, because they're racing against, they're competing, attackers are competing against each other too.
Yep. That's one reason why we see like the regular scans and the bursts of scans that take over things. And the last one on here is the Ford. I just, whenever there's a new blip, because it was quiet for a couple of weeks. Whenever there's a new Fortinet blip, I get nervous because it means people. This is a very popular, very, very popular technology, very inexpensive. I'm sure that your purchasing manager would tell me otherwise, everybody out there, but like it's very inexpensive compared to other things, very powerful devices. And whenever we see these blips, I get like, what's happening is, are they just going, please let them just be going after old garbage vulns. Please don't let this be a new 0 day. And like, because it's been a brutal year for Fortinet. It's been a brutal couple of years for them. Yeah. And like, it just, I get nervous when that, like, and I get nervous for the internet. Like, we don't run Fortinet. I don't run Fortinet, but I get nervous for folks out there. So just pay attention to your Fortinet kit, make sure it's patched, keep the logging on, watch for things, watch the news, blips, and keep listening to us, because if we do see things, we will let you know. But if this gets weirder, we will definitely be hooking into this a bit more. We had 5 tags last week. This has been, Glenn, you and the team just killing it, just absolutely killing it. It's amazing. We're almost at 0.8 tags a day, and like we may get super close to 1 tag a day by the end of the year. So the team's just amazing. And 3 or 4 of these, I forget if it was 4 or 3, are from some of our data science driven advanced tagging processes, where we float up new traffic to folks to dig into, and try to make it as straightforward and quick as possible to do the assessment and come up with the ability to write a detection, and so it becomes a tag for folks out there. With the one was from Kev, so we do our best to make sure we're on track or before Kev, as everyone knows. And for some of the ones that were from the data science driven one, this is a common IP address. And like, I'm not picking on 167.99.223. I'm not picking on this one in particular. But like, it was common, a couple of them, and they were slinging their wildly different vulnerabilities that they were slinging exploits for. And it's just curious. Like, one thing I wanted to mainly point out is, like, this is from DigitalOcean, what I call the armpit of the internet. Like, I'm not being mean to the DigitalOcean people. They have a very open business model. They want to be able to let anyone do whatever they want to on the compute platform. That's a decision they made as a business. Security folks use them all the time because of that, so it isn't just used by terrible people. But Kimber, you've noticed a couple things, or at least one thing on here, and we don't ever talk to people, at least on this. But like, I know we have like Ray Noise 101 and 201, blah, blah, blah. But we don't ever talk to people like, hey, like, this is how I use the platform in like detailed ways. Like, what were maybe 1 or 2 of the things you might have noticed on here that just like, ooh, that was interesting?
Definitely the reverse DNS. I think that's super interesting. And then the other thing I noticed was how old. There was one of these vulnerabilities from 2015, I believe.
Actually, there's one from like 2010 too down here.
Yeah, we see that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you mean the vulnerabilities? Yeah, the vulnerabilities. So it's a ton of old vulnerabilities. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was something interesting I noticed. It was just like old stuff.
Cold Fusion's an evergreen vuln.
I mean, it is interesting out there. So yeah, just keep an eye on these things, and this is one reason why we do have the platform, so you can actually go do that. Anyone can do that, and we've already hit them up for this, or hit them on this one. So Kev, Todd, folks, look out for us a little better. The scare on Monday wasn't much of a scare. We all expected it was going to happen sooner than later, but hopefully we'll get informed about Apple stuff a little bit more timely than we might have otherwise out there. Speaking of Kev, we got to do the thing. We were all wrong, I think, last week. So, or were we all wrong? Yeah, we were, because I don't think anyone of us said one.
I'm taking one this week.
Okay, okay. So you're basically taking the one from yesterday as the one for the week.
Yeah.
Okay, so no more Kev. So no more Kev this week from Kimber. Glenn.
I mean, today's Patch Tuesday. There's got to be at least one more in the week. So I guess 2.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, I'm leaning. So I can't tell whether like my whole like there's something coming is like the hurricane or like it's a bad vuln week. I'm gonna say 3 just because since I don't know. I'm just gonna err on the side of massive vulns, and we'll see who's right next week. We may be able to start guessing these better over time, or gaming it and paying Todd to put things up that maybe shouldn't be on. Cool. All right. Any parting words, Kimber?
Stay safe out there. Don't talk to strangers. Maybe do. See what happens. It might be North Korea.
Glenn, got anything up for everybody?
No. I think Kimber sums it up well. Okay. All right. Thank you. Actually, I knew as soon as that was coming out of my mouth, it was not going to be the last time that came back. No, appreciate everyone watching. Reach out. Like, we have Slack and socials and Discord and blah, 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 like whatever. And if you have cool things to talk about, love to have people on. Otherwise, good luck.
Definitely. And I'll just reiterate, if you're up in my neck of the country, woods, whatever, and you are impacted by the thing, we do have plenty of room, and we have a generator and all that cool stuff, local, like
well. Did you just hear what Kimber said about strangers?
Yeah, I know. We're the friendly neighborhood Stormwatch crew. Like, they know who we are. Yeah. So you're welcome. You're welcome to hang here if you run into trouble. Thank you for taking the time again, Kimber and Glenn. Ashley, thanks again for the awesome Overwatch job. And everybody, we'll see you next week, next Tuesday. Remember, Tuesday. Next Stormwatch. Everybody.
Cheers.
Bye.